Hello everybody. So today, this video will be for week 8 section. So I'll first just start by showing you the PDF we'll be going over. So there'll be two main questions. We'll have a do while loop or do end loop, whatever way you like to call it. And then we've been working on our sum function, just so you guys can see that and how to sum it in two different ways, the statement. And then we'll go over the review topics for your quiz this week. And make sure you take the quiz this week because that is important to do. So now I'm going to start by going right to the coding. So I'll first start by going over the first two questions for the worksheet. And then I'll go over a little bit of review. So question 1. So we have, this is a data, so we'll have D0. So n is equal to 20. So this is going to be our do while loop. So do I is equal to 1 to n, and then x plus 1, and then if I is greater than 17, then output end, and then run. So I'll first show you what this does, and then I will go over everything. So it'll print n every time. So I'll go full screen. So n every time we see that, and then since n, when I is greater than 17, it prints our I, and then it prints our x right here. That is equal to, there we go. So our x accumulates each time because we do not initially set x to anything, so we add x to 1 at each turn. So that'll accumulate every turn. And then since we have this statement here, then output, that means once this condition is true or proven, then we output our values. And we have set I to be equal to 20 up here. So let's say we don't want our n. Let's say we just want a 20 and see if that will do the same thing. And we see it will do the same thing, but here we don't have our n column, which we did in the previous statement. So you could do it either way, just what value do you want there if you want your n or you don't. And then our x plus 1 is our function. So like if this was what we are doing, we're accumulating each term. So let's make this x plus 2. And then we will run. And we see that our x values now are significantly higher because we're now adding by 1, we're adding by 2. So our I, so it's the same thing as 2 times our value of our I, and now our x value is twice as large. Now we'll be going on to the next part. Oh, actually I'll start say the n first. So this n means each turn to go back to the do loop until it goes through all of our cases. And as you guys can see the cases one more time that do not reach this condition, we do not output because it does not have this condition proven. So that will be our do while loop. And now we're going over to the sum and the statement, sum statement. So sum, we'll call this test for the sum. So x will equal just the dot. Make sure you keep your semicolon. Y is equal to 5. A is equal to x plus y. And I am just going to run, I am going to do some runnings earlier instead of just doing them all at once, just to show everybody what's going on. So our x is just a dot, we have y is equal to 5, and then our a is a dot. So in other words, when we add the period with our 5, we get a dot also. So b is now equal to the sum of x comma y. We're going to run this again. So all the three others will be the same, but we see b is equal to 5. So what this is showing is that if not all numbers use sum function, because that way when we use the sum function, it'll still allow us to add these together, because remember, b is the sum function, a is not. So it allows us to use these sum functions to take into account and just set this equal to 0. And then we add the two together and we get 5, which is 5 plus 0. And then the next one is c is equal to 5. And then we have c plus x, c plus x. There we go. So we know our c will be equal to 5, just like we set it to. And our c plus 5 is not outputted. I mean, c plus x there is not outputted. And then we'll have d is equal to 5. And d plus x plus y. And then put a equals b equal, c equal, d equal. And we will run. Now remember the put function transforms them from characteristic to numeric. We see all these are the same. So I'll put this as z is equal. So now we'll just do right here, z is equal. I'll be running this. And we see that our z is a period just because we have our x here, which is a period. So if I wanted to get this to add, I could change this to a c. And then running this, I should get those to be adding. And that should be 15, and it is. So we are good there. And now for some review for your quiz. So the quiz topic, you're going to still need to know the stuff we went over on the midterm, which was basics, the data, the proc means, and the formatting. So make sure you still know how to do format, changing your to $1 if you want your format to be $1, uppercase or lowercase, like we went over last week. And then we still need to know our, so I'll comment all this in. So proc means, and remember, may need to sort, or just by default sort. So by default sort, you could always use your proc contents to see if sorted. That'll tell you if it has been sorted or not. And then remember something new we went over the last week in section is proc freak. So the proc freak, we still need our data is equal. And then we can create a frequency tables. So this creates a frequency table. And we've seen two different types of tables. We've seen the conditional, like the conditional marginal PDF type, where it looks like, I will just draw it out on the screen for you guys. So remember, this is the one we created at the end where we had the two different types. We wanted to see our source over here. So we had source 1 or source 2. And then we had group A or group B. And we wanted to see the average height by each group. And then we had our four different categories it looks into. So remember those are the amount, the percent, the row percent, the column percent. So those are the four, and I'm going to erase this. And the other one was just a basic frequency table, right, guys? If you remember that. So that does not show up on my screen, so I'll show it again. So we just had this basic frequency table that had all of the observations right here. So this would tell us what we are looking at. So remember, we were looking at heights. This would have like 50 inches, or we'll go with 50. And then we'll have like 70 inches. It'll tell us how many times it shows up. And it has our four things: the frequency, the cumulative frequency, the percent, and the cumulative percent, I believe, are the four. So you guys will need to double check those. But the two tables have two different has two different categories of the four. So of the two tables, so two different proc frees. the categories we look at are slightly different. So this means like the frequency, the percent, cumulative percent, and then row percent. They are different in the two different types. And remember, the one is just a cross table, and the other one is just the basic table. So the cross table would be, now going back to the other one, it would be proc freak. So this was from, if we did last section. So remember this from last section. So it was proc freak data equals, I believe it was group underscore final, and then table source cross group, and then run. And this showed us the cross table where we had like the marginal PDFs where it showed us the cumulative, the row percentage, and the column percentage. So column percentage. And then we also had the just the other way, which is proc freak data equal to height table, and then we'll go with units we'll have, and then we can run, and that'll give us table by the units. And we also did one without our table, and we saw that showed all possible different tables. So we saw 3 different tables for our proc height. We'd have it in the units format, the height in the inches, which was inches of centimeters since we hadn't transformed it yet. And then we had the ID, and it would show us by that too. But of course, some of those weren't useless because were not very useful. Like our ID one there, we know each ID only showed up once, so that wasn't very useful. But the units and the inches were definitely more useful, especially with the units. So remember, we were able to see what different way they showed up in the units. So different ways they displayed cm centimeters, and remember they displayed them in multiple different ways. So that's that's the main review from the last week, in case you weren't able to do that. So make sure you remember how to do these, and remember the missing values. So there's 2 types of missing values when we output. We have either the period, so missing values. So we have a period, or we just have an empty space. Remember which one's which. So that'll be nice. And a characteristic is the period, if you forget, and the empty space should be a numeric value. So there we go. And I guess we'll go over other topics in section just to try to help you guys there. But I think that's the basic for which everything we need to cover. So if you have anything else, let me know. And I hope to see you guys in section. And I will post this video soon.